Now, this was the earlier in the morning, and what are we seeing here, folks?
Well, we're putting out the seine right now. I think right here you see the rope that goes out to the seine. That's a seine barge way out in the foreground.
This exhibition was put on by the Department of Interior, Fish and Wildlife Bureau of Commercial Fisheries. And there was people there from, I guess, nearly every state in the Union, and there was some people there from foreign countries. Y'all were really on the map out there that day.
Yes, sir.
Lawrence, if you will, could you give the viewers an idea of actually what catfish farming is?
Well, this particular lake here, it could be described more as just a feedlot for catfish more than anything. We stocked it with 1,000 half-pound channel catfish per acre, and we fed them out for 8 or 9 months here. And
in other words, what you did, it's a pond that planned to grow out catfish, and you feed a commercially prepared catfish food to the fish every day and producing your fish.
Yeah.
Now here is the winches that are pulling that seine. That seine is actually, I guess, 1/4 of a mile away from this winch at least, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This seine today was a little over 2,500 feet long. Mm-hmm. And he's pulling it on in up to the bank. Now there's a rope running down to the end of the seine that runs parallel to this levee all the way down there for several hundred yards.
That car that we saw down along that levee is used as an anchor to keep that rope right along the bank, isn't that
yes,
right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. You can possibly see...
That's a 100-acre lake right here.
That's a 100-acre lake you're looking at. It's hard to see that seine out there because it's a pretty good ways out. But as it comes in, you'll be able to see these fish flopping and coming on in there.
Do you feed these fish every day?
Yes, we feed them, we'll say 6 days a week when the weather's good. Now, on cloudy days, when the weather's not right, we do skip every now and then.
About how many pounds of food does it take to grow a pound of catfish?
About 2 pounds of commercial fish food will produce 1 pound of catfish.
About what percent protein do you use in this catfish food?
This is a 33% protein diet. Mm-hmm. I have specially formulated.
Here he had bad luck there, and he one of the ropes broke, and he had to go back out and patch it. Now, this is some of the things that can go wrong in anything like that.
What are we looking at here, Lawrence?
This is a steel wagon, a water wagon that's used to transport the fish from this big lake up to the holding facilities up on the top side of the farm.
You and your brother Steve designed and built this right there on the farm, did you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was more of my brother's idea, and I built a lot of it.
And you designed this especially to haul the fish from this large reservoir, this 100-acre lake, up to your holding facilities right up near the headquarters.
Yes, sir. We built 3 of those just for mainly transferring fish from one pond to the other on the farm. Those are not highway vehicles. Those will be just farm use.
Do you always harvest the fish in this manner?
This is the first time this has ever been tried. This is experimental all the way, and it looks like it's going to be the answer to catfish harvesting.
How have you harvested the fish prior to using the large seine here with the Bureau of Commercial Fisheries?
Wash tubs and dip net. Just get in there with it. You'll see here in a few minutes we'll be picking these fish up with a drag line.
What are we doing here now? Pulling that seine in. Looks like he's got that lead line lifted up.
No, sir. That's not the lead line. That's just the tow line that they're pulling the seine with. The lead line is on the bottom, and you can see the corks there.
A while ago, we showed you a shot of the trap that's in that seine. This is to pocket the fish to give them something to jump against so they won't jump out. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All he was doing there was just straightening it out so that the fish could go back in that pocket.
Would you care to estimate how many pounds of fish you might have in this 100-acre lake?
I believe we'll have somewhere in the vicinity of 150,000 pounds in this lake. Now, we won't catch near that many today.
Well, this was just a partial drag, and you expect all to catch approximately how many pounds?
Oh, if we would catch 10%, 20%, I'd be happy. I believe we'll wind up with here with about 23,000 pounds. You see some fish jumping over the net now. We're getting them crowded up in there. See them stirring the water. The net is getting closer and closer to the bank all the time.
You can see that pocket there has got a lot of fish in it, straightening out right
Yes,
now.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, as you move this seine up to closer to the bank there, how do you plan to take the fish out of the water?
Well, we're going to, with a drag line bucket, on the drag line, we have a net goes on the end of a drag line. You'll see it here in a few minutes.
Oh, you mean you've disbanded this idea of using those tubs and filling them up and walking up and down those banks and dumping them into this hauling vat?
You can't hardly get it that way. But
Now you got a seine inside of the big seine too.
well, we're getting ready to run. There it is now. The seine inside the big seine, and partially you take it. Now see they're crowding them up now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, isn't one of the main reasons for this is if you crowd fish up into a small area with the water muddy, you might lose a few or injure a few fish. So you actually just take a part of the fish that you have caught and then move them out and then re-seine and get the remainder of the fish.
That's one of my brothers there in the yellow.
In each one of these dip nets, about how many pounds of catfish do you figure you
Well,
have?
just looking at that in there, that one's about 300. It was going from 300 to 500 pounds. You'll see the biggest one you'll see here will be about 500 pounds, and the smallest, they're usually about 300. See, that's all fish.
That's a lot of fish.
Those fish are just hitting me on the legs in there and everything. They're just all the way down, and just everywhere you walk in there, you run into fish. Right in that drag right there, we caught about 15,000 pounds. Right, it was inside of that net right now. Then we went back and made another drag. We got the total for that day was 23,000.
About how many can you carry in that tank at one time?
That water tank there will hold about 3,000 pounds of fish. This time of year, in the summertime, about 2,500 pounds. So you can't haul as many fish in warmer water as you can in cold water.
Now, if you would have harvested that many fish in that small area in the summertime, you could have stood a chance of smothering.
You couldn't have done it. You couldn't have put that many fish in that
There's
small
not enough
area.
oxygen in the water.
Right. The fish are much more active. We might be able to do it with a lot of circulating pumps and everything, but just the way we did it today, you can't do it exactly like that in the summertime. You'd just lose those fish right now.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take the fish to get to the size that we're looking at here, Lawrence?
Well, now these fish were stocked last March. They were half pound, and now these fish average 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds.
What's that, about 7 months?
7 or 8 months.
Uh-huh. In other words, they went from about 0.5 pound to 1.5 pounds in about 7 months.
Yes, sir.
How much feed do you feed a day?
At this lake here, I was feeding over 2,000 pounds a day in this lake. My total feed in the whole farm was about 4,000 pounds a day.
Now you have brood catfish where you get your eggs?
Yes, sir. I have brood fish for my own use, and I have brood fish I'm raising for anticipating other fish farmers might needing brood fish.
And then you also you put the fingerlings out in one lake, is that right?
Yes, sir. My fingerling production is in another place from here. We raise fingerling, and next year we'll take those fingerling and raise them on up to about 0.5 pound, which we'll call stockers. Mm-hmm. And in the following year we'll take them from 0.5 pound up like we did here.
Mm-hmm.
How many acres do you have in fish farm, say today?
Well, right now we have approximately 150 acres in catfish, and if everything goes right, we'll probably increase it again this year. To about 300. Last year we had 40. The first year we had 10.
Mr. Cervic, you an expert on this thing. How would it be to just go out there and just put all size catfish out there in the lake? Well, does that do all right?
Well, sir, if you put all sizes in, they will grow out at different rates, and then when you catch them, you'll have fish in a pond that will go from 0.5 pound, maybe say up to 5 pounds, something like that.
What about, do you ever have any trouble of cannibalism where you have great big ones in there?
No, sir, not as long as you feed with this commercially prepared catfish food. You don't have any problems with that unless you was to get an invader species, say something like black bass or one of the Opelousas or the yellow cat, as some people call them. Now, they are carnivorous fish.
What particular breed of catfish is this?
This is the channel catfish. That
Are they good to eat?
They're the best.
Indescribably delicious, I think is what Lawrence was saying.
I couldn't say that word.
They are delicious. Did you have an opportunity to try some of the
Yes,
coupillon
I
that,
did.
that
They were
Steve's wife fixed?
That was, you had a good catfish dinner
delicious.
out there, I'll tell you.
That Steve up there on the bank right behind, well, he was right behind the net.
He's directing the operations there. He's in tan coveralls. You'll notice
He's got a little striped hat on. He's got the pencil and paper in his hand. He's reading the scale right
Lawrence,
now.
if you will, describe the construction and the way you're using this dip net on the drag line there.
Well, that you can see that's a cylinder net. It's about 6 foot deep. It's got a wooden bottom in it with a trap door. And for the reason for having it 6 foot long is to, when you get down in the water to go to dip those fish, well, you have a lot of room to work with it. And then the drag line, we'll hook it onto that cable on that drag line, and he picks it on up, swings it over those troughs like you see in there. And there's a scale in the boom, in the line above the net, you might notice there. And
in other words, when you dip the fish, you weigh them at the same time.
Dip and weigh them at the same time.
You're saving time through a mechanical means there.
Last year when we harvested them, we did it with wash tubs. We carried them up on the bank by hand, weighed them on a platform scale, and dumped them by hand.
And you say this just opening up the trap door and dropping them into your hauling tank is a little bit faster.
Right. And last year, the most I think we moved in one day, doing it by hand, was about 6,000 or 7,000 pounds. And here we moved 23,000 pounds with no sweat. It was just real easy. Just dipped them right out of the water and just didn't have any problem whatsoever.
Now you say this load is about 500 pounds,
That's
from
about
3 to 500 pounds.
That looks like about a 500 pound right there. That when you saw it, it was pretty full. That's about all you'd want to put in that net. They'll go to mash.
What would that one weigh about there?
That fish there will be about a pound or a pound and a quarter. He's a little small.
Mm-hmm. But is that your brother?
Your little brother?
That was one of my brothers. I have 5 brothers. They all help in this operation. My oldest brother, Steve, is the manager.
How much do you get a pound for your fish wholesale?
Well, we wholesale in large quantities, 50 cents a pound. FOB, our farm.
We'll show you the marketing operation a little bit later here. Now, what will this one weigh about?
Now, that old boogie there looks like he'll go 5 pounds easy, maybe 6.
Now, is that the size fish that you like to get your catfish fillets from, or?
He's going for brood fish there.
That's a good brood fish. Now, what do we have here?
That's an albino alongside a regular channel catfish. They're both channel. The albino is now a species. It was a freak. The farmer up in Arkansas came up with one albino, and he capitalized on it, and now we've got a species.
Now what are we doing?
I think here we've moved the hauling trough from the harvesting area up to the holding pens, or the holding ponds.
Now these are about an acre.
An acre and 3/4, and that big steel hauling tank you saw has a 12-inch valve on the back of it, and